Hello, how's it going, everybody? Hey, how's it going, everybody? Forgot to turn my mic on for a second. I am using StreamYard, so if you see my name in the bottom left corner, and I think there's supposed to be like a logo because I'm using the free version, that's why the layout looks a little different. I am still trying to figure out whether I can see chats on here. So, okay. I can see comments. Okay, this is awesome. Katie D, Aaliyah Payne, and Lotus Fong. Hi, and somebody, I think it's just dot dot as your username. Hi, welcome everybody. Glad you all are here. It looks like the viewer count is not matching up with the number of comments that I'm seeing. So I'm gonna see if that cleans up a little bit as we keep going. But welcome everybody. I'm glad you all are here. So today I'm just going to give a quick update on just like what's been going on for me, what the family's been up to, what we've been doing. Little update on Kitty. I think he's going to join us soon. He's already prowling around the chair a little bit. And I'm going to talk a little bit about seasonal affective disorder. And yes, I think it is a good time because at least here in Virginia, the weather started to change. I think in the past couple of weeks, things have gotten chillier. Daylight is definitely a lot shorter now, and so definitely be on the lookout for seasonal affective disorder. We'll talk about a couple of ways to be able to cope with the feelings that come with fall and winter, with shorter days, longer nights, all of that good stuff. We'll do some Q&A, and then I'll do some reading from this book. This is going to be the last time I bring out this book, Enchantment. It's been an awesome read, and I've loved sharing it with you all. And eventually I want to start bringing in maybe some mindful meditations or finding another book that would be a good read. So thank you all for tuning in with that. And I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes. I'll keep talking about what we've been up to and what the channel's going through and what direction we're going in. And then we'll get started talking about seasonal affective disorder. First, let me see if Kitty wants to join. Kitty, you want to get up? There, and up. Okay. Okay. Kitty had a big moment today. He discovered that we have fish in the house. He discovered the fish tank, and he spent the entire morning sitting in front of the tank watching the fish and pawing on the glass, I guess trying to, are you trying to pet the fish? Is that what you're trying to do? Are they your pets? But yeah, so that was how he spent his morning. And I'm gonna have a picture for you all of that, of him getting to meet the fish for the first time. I think that's gonna be posted on the community tab on Friday, I wanna say. So yeah, it's a pretty cute picture and I'm excited for you all to be able to see it. In terms of the channel, I hope you all got a chance to watch the video that I put out yesterday about finding your perfect therapist, how to match with your perfect therapist. That's in the playlist talking about just how we can advocate for ourselves in mental health. A lot of times, a lot of my clients have said like, oh, I didn't really like this therapist and I didn't find out until, you know, a couple sessions in, and then I felt like it was too late for me to be able to change anything. And hopefully this is a way that all of you all who watch the video can go forward if you're finding a therapist, or if you are currently with one, just being able to talk through like, hey, do we share the same values? Do we share the same beliefs about mental health? Do we share the same beliefs about your role as a counselor, my role as a client? And those are kinds of things that you can be interviewing your therapist for, because they are trying to work with you. You are interviewing them to be your therapist. Mama Gemma, hello. You're in Alaska. Oh my goodness. Do tell us about seasonal affective disorder. Yeah, I think out of all of the places that I've heard of people living in, Alaska, okay, Kitty, Alaska has probably some of the more extreme situations when it comes to daylight and lack thereof. What are you doing? You want to talk? As you all might notice, I'm wearing a mic today, so give me a little bit of feedback on whether or not that's working, if it sounds different. You can probably hear Kitty's purring pretty loudly in it because he's right next to it. So any feedback on how the mic is working would be really helpful for you all, or for me too. Aaliyah, you're in Oregon. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm lucky to be in Virginia, where it's not as extreme as you all in the Northwest, and especially in Alaska, the Northwest. But yeah, I do hope some of these tips are helpful. Given and hibernate. Yeah, I'm with you there. Hibernating, yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about how that's kind of an adaptive thing for us. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is something that looks a lot like depression, but it just happens to come along in the winter months, and a lot of that is attributed to, yes, Kitty, decreased amounts of light during the day, lack of light exposure. I've heard it attributed also to maybe like an evolutionary need to hibernate in the winter months, and so everything just kind of slows down a little more, including mood and activity level and motivation, all those kinds of things. And so it ends up looking a lot like depression. And a lot of times my clients didn't even realize they had it because they just were either dealing with other mental health issues or they just never noticed the pattern. And it's a little tricky because sometimes you have to go through a couple of winters before you recognize, oh, this happens every winter. Does Kitty hibernate all year long? He's usually pretty active at night, actually, which is annoying when we're trying to sleep. Or as you all could see from the pictures that I posted on the community tab, when I'm trying to sleep is when he's pretty active. But yeah, he hangs around at home a lot. So yeah, you might see irritability, fatigue, low motivation, low mood, a lot of things very similar to depressive symptoms. So some of the ways that we can actually help manage seasonal affective disorder. One of the biggest things I would encourage is having time spent outside. And I know for you all who are in Alaska and the Northwest, that's going to be a pretty tall task with the cold and the snow and all that stuff. When I'm approaching this from my perspective, which is in a more temperate area in Virginia, and so what I tell my clients a lot of times is, hey, spend some time outside, go hiking, spend time in nature, be outside in the morning when the sun rises, be outside in the evening when the sun starts to set. That helps to set our circadian rhythm. It helps our bodies to kind of adjust to what the circumstances are at the time. Hey, Colleen and Michelle, welcome to the stream. Kitty, you want to say hi? Why are you petting my neck today? Yeah, winter's never been my favorite month. It used to be one of my favorites because I used to have terrible allergies when I lived in another part of Virginia, and that was the time when I would get some kind of relief from them. But now I live in a different area, don't have the allergies, and now I just hate not being able to go outside as much and the lack of sunlight. The symptoms the same for SAD during the summer? Ooh, that's an interesting question, Aaliyah. It sounds like you've got some insight, and I would actually love to hear what you're talking about because the type of SAD that I've seen typically manifests in winter. So if you could leave in the comments, let me know what you're talking about because I have not seen people who struggle with SAD during the summer months. Yes, Colleen, yeah, we're going there with the happy light for sure. Yes, so if you just cannot get the time to be outside, or in places like Alaska, you might just not have that amount of sunlight to be able to set your body the way it needs to be, there are therapeutic lamps. If I set up the stream right, there should be an affiliate link in the description below where you can actually look at one of those therapy lamps and see if it's the right tool for you, especially as we're getting into the winter months. Huh. Aaliyah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, for sure. I definitely haven't experienced or okay. Yes, Kitty's got claws and he is climbing all over right now. I feel like he's not going to be staying put for long. But yeah, so circadian rhythm, light therapy for sure is one of the biggest steps to take, making sure you're getting an adequate amount of sunlight and just following the typical rhythm of the day instead of staying up super late at night or waking up super late in the morning. Trying to keep your sleep as regular as you can, even though it can be very difficult with the light changing and all of that. Exercise and movement is super important as well. And I do want to draw a balance because, like someone was talking about with hibernating earlier, there's a balance between what our body is angling for, which is a period of slowing down, resting, and just trying to push through it. I think there's a lot that is problematic in our society and our culture about just let me push through it, let me fight through it, and not be slowed down by it so I can make more money or I can, grind and do whatever. So definitely the exercise is an important piece, but again, in moderation. I think another tricky part that is unique to kind of the winter months, at least in the US, is just the number of holidays. Hey, Maggie, thanks for joining us on the live stream today. We're just talking a little bit about seasonal affective disorder and what we can do to manage that, especially as we're getting into the colder months. But yeah, so especially like with the holidays, around this time, I mean, you have Halloween with all the candy, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, just holidays where we tend to eat a lot and eat foods that we don't typically eat throughout the year. And while that's great, I love Christmas food, I love Thanksgiving food, that radical change in diet can be really tricky for some people to navigate. Oh yeah, vitamin D supplementation. Again, I don't want to get too deep into kind of like the medical advice because that's definitely not my field, but I can see how certain supplements like vitamin D, which we would normally be getting from sunlight, could probably help. Um, yeah, but so, when we are slowing down, hibernating, our bodies tend to crave carbs. And if we give into that, especially by eating a lot of unhealthy carbs, such as candy, a lot of breads, things like that, that can be detrimental for us and actually make our bodies feel more sluggish, feel more slow, lower our mood and our motivation. And that can be counterproductive. I'm not saying don't indulge and don't enjoy the food, but again, just kind of paying attention, again, trying to keep things in balance as much as possible, especially in a time when there is a lot of good food and it's very tempting. Um, and so the balance to the other side of movement and light is also recognizing that your body would like to rest. And maybe this is something that we need to be maintaining year round, but finding times to rest, finding times for our bodies to kind of reset. A lot of times we are in an anxious or kind of escalated, threatened state. Sorry, there's just cat hair flying all over the place. And so using that time to let our body get the rest that it needs can also be really helpful in helping to regulate that. Because what I tell my clients is like, your body will get that rest somehow. And you can either get ahead of it and try to schedule it for yourself and make it happen for yourself, or your body's going to take it for itself at an inconvenient time. And so there's just something about managing that in a way that we can not have, what am I trying to say? That we can get the rest more so on our terms. Maggie says, I put those candle lights in my window for the holidays. I like the light. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what the story is on like daylight savings time. I had heard that Congress was talking about not doing it anymore, but I guess, budget talks were more important than that. So I think we're stuck with the time changes for the time being, but yeah, that definitely throws things off too. And, speaking as a parent of little kids now, really throws off the rhythm when you're waking them up an hour earlier or an hour later. And, they don't understand that much yet in terms of like our social construct of time. And they're more in tune with the natural rhythms around them, which would be the sunlight and the amount of sunlight that they're getting. Hey, Suzette, thanks for joining. So yeah, in terms of the rest piece, I actually had an incident where I had to kind of pull things back because, as I'm sure you all know, especially you all with families, fall festivals are super popular around this time of year. And on Sunday, we just had way too much packed into that day. We had church in the morning, we had friends in town that we were trying to hang out with right after church, and then we had to go home, get lunch. Well, it was a late lunch already, and then we were talking about going to a fall festival after that, which I had to go back to church to play piano for the choir. And at that point, I just had to say, like, hey, there are a ton of fall festivals this time of year. Can we skip this one? And I don't think I said it that nicely to my wife, but that was me being able to say, like, I know my body needs rest right now, and that's just what it needs. And being okay with saying I can't do everything today. And so I was able to have that conversation. She was gracious about it, and we were able to make that work so that we could get done what we needed without overburdening ourselves. Yes, Kitty. Okay, yes, he's especially, yes. They thought you were a dog. Are you a dog? If you can hear the purring in the mic, I'm just curious how sensitive that is. Yeah, he is definitely antsy, and he's going to jump out soon. One other person was telling us here, we both hate how bright the sun is. Yeah, sorry, Aaliyah. I was reading your comment, and then Suzette's comment about Kitty being huge came in. Yes, he is huge, and yeah, that's actually really interesting. I wonder whether that's a response to maybe the extreme heat. You said you're in Oregon, so I don't actually know how hot it gets there, but I do know here in Virginia it can get really humid and hot, and sometimes we just feel really sluggish, don't want to do anything, and just kind of want a nap. And I wonder if that's something that happens too, where um, our body's feeling like, oh, this is a time to rest, this is a time to slow down because of how hot and humid it is. And sometimes, because our work doesn't stop just because it's summer or winter, as it might be, depending on who you're talking to, that we're just kind of pushing through that need for our body to respond to the environment. And I wonder if that kind of taxes our resources in that way during the summer, the same way that it does in the winter. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Before I jump into Q&A, I'm curious what some of the things that you all have used or have done, especially you all who have talked about experiencing SAD already, what helps for you to manage that and maintain your mental health during those seasons? Oh man, you were in Arizona? I bet that was a lot worse. But I don't know. I've never been on the West Coast for any extended period of time, so um, I am glad that you can survive those extreme environments. I think I need something more temperate. And for sure, could you imagine this guy in Arizona? Look at all that fur. You would overheat. Yes. He's been doing this recently. A lot of licking and grooming me. Oh yeah, walking for sure. And it's, yeah, he would love the sun. It's funny how many clients I tell to go take a walk. And there are sometimes I wish I could just go take a walk with them. Just for them to get over that initial hump of like, oh, I gotta go outside, I have to plan a walk during the week. But yeah, just taking a walk outside, just being outside, moving your body, it doesn't even have to be like a huge exertion, can make such a difference for our mental health. I think we really forget that in all of our time spent in offices sitting down the whole day. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that you do take walks regularly. Try to make the house as cozy as possible. Yeah, yeah. Again, leaning into that rest, I think, and the comfort that we have in our homes. Aromatherapy. Okay. Suzette, so that to me sounds like kind of like diffuser and essential oils, or maybe candles of some kind. What kind of scents do you use that work for you? I wonder if it's something more stimulating or something more relaxing. Lots of white Christmas lights. Okay, yeah. Getting cozy with the Christmas lights. I get that for sure. I think a lot of people just like that sense of beauty, um, and the light. It just feels really comforting in those times when we have a lot of darkness. Huh, Aaliyah, you said you're a therapist and you have gone outside before during your sessions. That's pretty cool. Candles, pine and Christmas scents. Yeah. Therapy bunny. Hmm. What do you think? Should we get a therapy bunny in the house, Kitty? Or are you just happy with the fish? For those of you who missed that earlier, Kitty discovered that we have fish in the house, even though we've had them for like probably a year now. But yeah, he was just completely enthralled by them this morning. Yeah, therapy bunny sounds amazing. But yeah, let me give the floor to you all a little bit and ask if you all have any questions to ask, not necessarily related to SAD, but if you want to talk about seasonal affective disorder some more, I'm all for that. What questions would you have for me? Actually schedule my evenings. Ooh. Yeah, Maggie, I think some people could definitely benefit from having that structured time in the evenings. I think we look forward to having unstructured time, but having a planned time for recreation and for relaxing can be really powerful too. Oh, yeah, Lotus Fong sensory issues for sure. I think Aaliyah was really on point when she was talking about potentially sensory issues, especially in the summer where you have a lot of heat, a lot of humidity, perhaps bugs, or just being outside in, you know, in all of those circumstances. Kitty's getting pretty clingy tonight, huh? And this is where, in talking about seasonal affective disorder in the summer, I have to kind of watch my own biases because I love summer because I can go outside, play sports, play basketball, hang out with people, go to the beach. Those are all things I really enjoy. But yeah, so definitely appreciate you all sharing about your experiences with that because it is very different from mine, and that's completely okay and completely normal. Mm. Oh yeah, thoughts on how to be supportive of someone with SAD and stay in bed for weeks. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where that can become really problematic. Again, kind of depending on her age, of course, and any physical conditions that she might have. I'd be concerned if she's staying in bed for weeks, not getting any exposure or stimulation through interpersonal connection, moving around. Her body might be suffering as a result of that. And at some point, then it becomes kind of a health issue as well. Hey, Hannon, welcome to the stream. Thanks for sharing. But yeah, thoughts on how to support, man, that's really difficult because I think it would be helpful if she recognizes that it's a pattern. If she started to notice that, oh, every winter is kind of like this, to be able to talk about it before it starts hitting and be like, hey, what would you like to do? How would you like to manage that during this time? Especially for something like seasonal affective disorder, if it is like if we've ruled out other concerns, I'd hesitate to start doing a medication thing with it unless it's something you can get on and off really quickly, because I would hate for that to turn into something that you depend on through the rest of the year. But if our body's able to maintain like exercise or something light like walking outside, like a lot of people have suggested, or even just finding ways to be, I don't want to say recreational necessarily, but like creative around the house. Like people talked about decorating the house for Christmas or to be able to have some candles going, things like that. Those are all ways that can still stimulate our bodies and lend themselves to that creativity and that activity without it being overburdensome or super taxing. Again, this kind of depends on what your mom's needs are. I'm sorry, I have kitty hair in my mouth right now, and my hands are covered in cat hair, so I can't really get it out without putting more cat hair. So I'm just gonna take care of that really quick. Sorry, you'll have to see this. Yeah, and yeah, Hannon's right. Maybe the light therapy lamp might be something to look into. Again, I've got a link in the description, but you obviously don't have to buy that one. Find one that works for you. But yeah, that is a tricky thing with mental health sometimes too, is that it's so individual that I'd be hard pressed to say like this will always work, but I can just give you a menu of options of like, these are some conversations you might have, these are some things you might try, and then something might work for some people and something might not, and we just gotta give all of them a fair shot. Aaliyah said, Mom gets sad in the winter and just hold space for her to feel gloomy instead of trying to change it for her. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Aaliyah, thank you for sharing that. I think there is something about that interpersonal connection that can do a lot more than, just, hey, mom, do this and you'll feel fine. And just being able to accept that, hey, not everyone's going to be happy and joyful during this time and being okay with that. And again, maintaining that balance of like letting her feel her emotions, of course, being able to sit with her in that, but then also maintaining that balance of like, okay, yeah, we can't do this for weeks at a time. That's not healthy for you physically or emotionally. So yeah, Aaliyah, great suggestions. Thank you for sharing that. Maggie, did you just say that cat hair is a good source of protein? If it were, I'd be mixing it into my smoothies, but I don't think I can bring myself to do it. And my wife might leave me for that. You all are too much. Kitty, is there protein in your hair? Hmm. Well, yeah, thank you all for engaging with this topic. Like I said, I'd like to do one last reading from this book called Enchantment. So it's subtitled Awakening Wonder in an Anxious Age, and this is how we can find wonder. Okay, sorry, Maggie. I may have been moving too fast. Again, I don't know how live this comments feed is on StreamYard, so if I'm ahead of things and these chats are coming in really late, then yeah, I apologize for that. I'm still trying to iron out the kinks here. I'm still doing this on my phone, so I'm working on it. Do therapists get therapy? Yes, absolutely, and we should, because I talked about it in another video. I mean, like, therapists are people, clearly. I'm a person. I have my own biases and my own beliefs. I have my own preconceptions about things, and you all saw that today as I didn't even have a category for seasonal affective disorder occurring in the summer. And so the reason that we get therapy is so that we don't, it's not that we have to get rid of our biases, but we have to become aware of them. And so some of that is self-discovery. Some of that is working through different issues so that we can be our best person for the clients that we see. And we can be our most professional self for the person that we see. So that's why we get therapy, and that's why it's important for therapists to get therapy. Is Kitty's name Kitty? His given name, we adopted him from my brother-in-law, is Amaretto, but he's become Kitty now, and that's his YouTube name also, so that's his name now. You can walk your cat. That is amazing. I would love to take him outside, but he is very okay. See, he's trying to escape even with me talking about outside. All right, let me see. Sorry, it looks like someone's got a ... for their username, so I don't know what to call you by. Is it okay if I suggest videos on ADHD, rejection, sensitive dysphoria, and also how to cope with chronic severe pain? Ooh, okay, yeah, those are big topics. I don't know if you were talking about like all of that in one bundle in one video, but in terms of the chronic pain, that's definitely one of the trickier topics that that I discuss with my clients, because that's one where, especially as not a medical doctor, I feel very helpless with sometimes. And so what I do is try to encourage clients with mindfulness in that regard. And by this time, you guys probably think mindfulness is my answer to everything. But being able to engage with that discomfort and that pain can sometimes be helpful to gain awareness of, wow, I've been hiding this from my consciousness. I've been ducking away from the pain. And our bodies are actually really good at hiding that, or starting to not notice it anymore. And so when we engage with it, sometimes that can help the healing process. But yeah, I would definitely consider it. Please leave something in the community tab so I can remember that, and maybe flesh out the idea a little more in the comments. So yeah, like I said, again, I hope I'm caught up with the chat, and I'm gonna do some reading, and after I read, I'll take another look at the chat to make sure I'm caught up with everything and hopefully not leave anyone hanging, and then we'll be done for tonight. In summer months, I am in the business of catching moths. Where there is a lit bulb and an open window, I am there too, cupping my hands around a fluttering form that's determined to hurl itself against the light. Both H and Bert, her family members, are afraid of them. They are too quick, too intent. I don't think they mean to menace us. It's just that we're invisible to them, a thing of such scale that we're beyond perception. I will not have them batted with a newspaper, so I clamber over the kitchen table and balance on the backs of chairs to reach them before setting them loose into the night. It is a thankless task, because soon they are back again, bumping against the glass. It must be such a bafflement to them, this invisible barrier between desire and possibility. We are more moth than we know, small, frustrated, capable of only tickling a world that we wish would feel our heft. We share that attraction towards the brightest object in our field of view, an equal fascination with candles and conflagrations. We sense the danger, but we can't look away. In fact, we are drawn to circle it endlessly, getting closer and closer until it consumes us. Even when we think the sky might be falling, we stay to watch. It is elemental to us, this alertness, this panicked, flitting attention. Fire is the shadow side of enchantment, the dark, gleaming sorcery from which we can't tear our gaze. It shows us the wild danger that still resides in nature, the power it retains to devour and destroy. It is impolite, contagious, capable of catching from house to house while we stand helpless. It licks our palms like a moth in cupped hands. We have not understood this earth's full potency until we have recognized fire. Too often, we have allowed ourselves to believe that we can live whole lives in the absence of suffering. We are told that uniform happiness is the only desirable experience, but this in itself is a disenchantment. Fire brings us back into contact with the cycle of life, with the limits of our control, and with the full spectrum of human feeling. It teaches us hard lessons and burns through our fragile illusions. Without it, we are living only a surface existence, a shallow terrain. We must assimilate fire to become whole again. So, talk about grief. Yes, is that I can definitely make grief the topic of our next live stream next week. And for those of you who are talking about chronic pain and grief, yeah, ACT is definitely something that comes to mind when I read this passage about how fire, the darker side of enchantment, helps us to really embrace life to its fullest, rather than just living on this shallow surface of I always need to be comfortable, I always need to be happy. And yeah, acceptance and commitment therapy is about understanding that there is pain, accepting that we're feeling pain or feeling some kind of strong emotion, and being able to put that within the framework of our values to recognize that we're feeling something, that we don't have to react to that out of hurt or pain or guilt or danger or whatever, and to be able to take committed action in light of that. And so it is a very powerful therapy, and I can definitely talk about that because I do use some ACT principles with some of my clients as we're talking about grief next time. So thank you all for bringing up a subject that we can talk about next week in the live stream. I'll definitely do some prep on that, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Yeah, Mama Jama, I'm sorry, I've kind of lost the narrative here. Lost my daughter suddenly 3.5 years ago. Wow. Yeah, so I'll plan the live stream next week, so Tuesday at 9 p.m. at least for me, that's Eastern time. So I guess for a lot of you on the West Coast, that'd be like, I want to say 6 p.m. But yeah, I'll plan for it to be that. Let me make a note of that now so I don't forget. In the meantime, for all of you, especially in these holiday seasons, I know we can feel the loss of family members a lot more keenly. And that's definitely a painful time, especially when other people are celebrating. Things can feel really kind of gray and hopeless. So I do hope you find some comfort with the people who are around you at this time, to feel some sense of comfort and togetherness and connection, even when things feel really hopeless or helpless. So thank you all for tuning in. And your son's name is also Isaiah. I feel like the name Isaiah has been more common recently, so good name. And so yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And I hope this can always be a space where we can discuss some of these tougher topics. I know like grief is a really heavy one, but as long as you all are willing to go there with me, I'm happy to talk about it with you all. And again, thank you for being with me as I experiment with StreamYard. This is a new platform that hopefully will be more powerful going forward, as I'm going to be on the laptop within the next few weeks. So in the meantime, for those of you who are interested in grief, I know I have at least one grief video out. There might be a second, so I'll double check on that, and maybe I'll pin that to the comments on this video, or I'll make a community post just kind of referring to that. So please be on the lookout for that, and then I hope to see you all next week as we do talk about grief more in detail. So thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you all have a good night.